So this video is going to be far more exciting than the last video that I posted on this channel. So today I want to highlight some matches I've played very recently, and they were against some pretty sweaty teams. I wanted to highlight these videos because even against really good teams, you can still perform very well with Singularity. I think it's very important that you understand as a Singularity player how you punish these mistakes. If you stick around this video for just long enough, you will learn a tech that has never been told before. I've known for this tech for a while now, but I think it's now time that I actually show everyone this tech and how it works. If you didn't watch my last video, I highly recommend that you do. However, if you have not, I will briefly go over the build I'm running and why. Painter's overall is just a really solid perk choice in general. The fact that you could get a decent amount of regression in at the start if you get a pretty fast down. Painter's is also a pretty clutch perk. Rapid Brutality, you can combine this with your base kit overclock speed, which is 3%. You combine that for a total of 8% haste. You can just down someone right next to a gen, I can just keep chasing people. Last perk choice is kind of just like whatever your playstyle is. I go against a lot of sweaty teams that like to slam out gens, so Pop Goes the Weasel just helps a lot. And then for my two add-ons, I run Nanomachine Gel plus Diagnostics Tool Repair. So Nanomachine Gel decreases Biopop cooldown by 15% after slipstreaming a survivor. And then you combine this with Diagnostics Tool Repair, increases targeting range while on a biopod by 4 meters. Now, people really sleep on this add-on. This add-on right here is one of Singularity's best add-ons. Now, you would think, oh, it's 4 meters. It's not that far. You'll see in these games just how much value you get out of this add-on itself. This completely changes the way you play Singularity. It makes Singularity far more impressive if you know how to place your biopods correctly. Without further ado, let's get right into these games. So Orbit Lake Mine is actually a pretty decent map for Singularity. A lot of these gens are pretty open with decent camera spots. The main building's a little bit annoying to deal with because the camera spots aren't exactly like the greatest, but you can basically place cameras just all around the place. And especially if the range add-on, it makes it far more annoying for survivors to rotate. The big thing with this map is you want to be covering a decent chunk of the topside area, like where main is. So one thing you probably noticed right now is that I have the survivor names completely censored out, and one of them is a TTV. And when I looked back at their VOD after this match, I saw that they thought that I was stream sniping for some reason. And so it's like it's a stupid game and all, and I don't want to put a bunch of shit on these guys for no reason. So I'm just gonna censor their names out just purely for respect. If you get it down pretty early on in the game, just do a little quick check on your surrounding gens. And if you also get an early down, but you're also not running corrupt, I highly recommend that you try to pain res your first hook. This Nancy doesn't realize it yet, but she's completely throwing the game what she's doing right now. And then here she does something extremely bizarre. She just instantly goes for the unhook. And I'm thinking it's like, the only people that I see that do this are new players and people who are running deli. And so I've gone against these people before and I know that these guys aren't new. So I figure that they had a deli, which means if they're running deli, they're probably running unbreakable. So I didn't really care for hooking the Nancy immediately. It's still pretty early on in the game, so I would much rather just burn through the unbreakables. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you the hook swing. So you can kind of see from the clip that I had no line of sight on this Ada at all. And that's basically how this works. You're manipulating the aim assist feature that you have with your hand cannon or your biopod in general. So normally when you try to place down a biopod on some sort of obstacle, the game will try to help you by basically auto-locking a particular spot. And it works exactly the same way when you're trying to teleport to a survivor. So normally the way old Singularity used to work is you would have to just directly, you need line of sight on them. There's no aim assist feature, so this would normally not be possible. However, it's not the case anymore. You kind of try to aim away from where the survivor is. Like, she was completely through the wall, so I wasn't trying to like aim directly at the wall. And so the survivor is trying to hold a check spot like this Ada did right here. So if you aim just close enough to where the survivor is standing, the game will think that you're trying to lock onto the survivor and teleport onto them. Then you can get the teleportation and you'll teleport directly on top of them.
Secure.
The fact that I see people do this all the time, I just need to make a very big point real quick. So there are two of them that are working on the gen. And you can tell from this camera right here, it's pretty noticeable that there's one big problem with it. I left a blind spot, which it's a 4-gen. It's extremely hard to protect 4-gens because you have to sacrifice 2 cameras to protect 1 gen, which I don't really find to be optimal. However, you guys can see right here, but the back of the gen is a blind spot. So you don't need an EMP. You just need one person to work on it, and that's so much pressure on me. But the fact that there were 2 of them that were working on this gen, and neither of them decided to sit in the blind spot. Sometimes it's really good to be fast, but also it's sometimes good to be slow, because if you're just a little bit impatient, I mean, you will miss easy hits like that. Another pro tip, if you're pressuring survivors off of a highly progressed gen that they were working on, so if you do end up downing another person, you want to check on that gen immediately.
You will be elevated to something.
So here I observed that I have 2 highly progressed gens, so I'm not really looking to get an easy down thing. I'm just trying to pressure survivors as much as possible so it stalls them from doing gens. So the main building pellets, you want to get out of the way as fast as humanly possible. I was playing kind of like a dunce here. Basically, if you're going to chase at main building, your entire goal is to just basically deplete the resources as fast as humanly possible. Because if a survivor plays well, you shouldn't be getting an easy down. And I have so much pressure on the outside anyway, so I have no reason to commit to a main building chase. And you frankly should not be committing to a main building chase for too long. So yeah, they popped that generator right there. I could have easily have pressured them off of that generator, and they would probably have taken them much longer from the pop the generator. But I was realistically just playing with my brain off, and at this stage, like, I kind of figured I've already won this game, so I didn't really care. So the Zarina just got picked up, and Jonathan is taking a hit for Ada. And we have 4 gens remaining, so I already have an absurd amount of pressure on these survivors anyway, to the point where they really can't do anything. And I think they also figured that out as well, because they're just kind of lurking around like a bunch of rodents. And people forget a lot of things is that Singularity kind of has its own sort of slowdown. Because if you injure, especially if you can slipstream a survivor, and then you, on top of that, you can get a hit for free, that's already at least probably 30 to a minute to the point where they're not really going to be able to do anything. If they try to be a bit aggressive, they're just going to just go down instantly. So yeah, this match is already pretty much over. These few of these guys aren't really trying. There's a few that are trying a little bit, but this match is already over.
Gene integrity 43%.
And I will say this team is actually really good at grabbing EMPs. Unfortunately, they were not grabbing EMPs when they were working gens. That's really their only mistake. So this Nancy is just mindlessly bombarding for an unhook, which, one, it's a terrible play, and two, I'm like, now I'm like 90% sure that she's running Deliverance. Because why would you play this aggressive, especially when you're injured? And here this was kind of the point, because this Nancy was frustrated because I wasn't picking her up. And so then that was the point where they thought that I was stream sniping. And it's kind of funny too, because even if she wasn't running Deliverance, I would have still gone after the Jonathan, because you unhooked someone who was dead on the hook right in front of me. Why would I not punish that? Like, I talked to them after the match, and they seemed pretty chill, but I'm not sure if they thought that I was stream sniping, which I legitimately would never do. I could have downed this Ada pretty easily, but I wanted to get the kill on Jonathan just to get the game over with. And especially since Jonathan was probably one of the bigger threats of this game, because he was running Desperate and a pretty decent medkit as well, so he was just able to just almost instantly get people off the ground. Now, another reminder, I would have never gotten that TP off without the range add-on. This is why the range add-on is insanely good. So I got there a hook swing because Ada was trying to check spot that one corner that almost every single Survivor player check spots. However, I was just a bit too slow and I wasn't able to get the TP off. And she panicked anyway because she didn't realize that I could actually get that. So I was still fine regardless. I was so confused as to how I was missing these easy downs, but then I realized, like, I think these survivors were at so much of a panic, they just genuinely did not know what to do. And I didn't really feel like I was pressuring them that much, but, I mean, it was getting to the point where they were making such stupid mistakes that I was actually mind-gaming myself.
You are about to be made perfect.
That was a very good read on the Zarina. She realized that that was a really bad palette to play against a Singularity. Yeah, the third time that's happened where they vaulted in my face and I ended up TPing behind them. Yeah, that's just my luck right there. So basically the rest of this match, there wasn't really a whole lot that went on. I started goofing off with these guys for a little bit. I'll save you guys the time and just sum up the rest of this match.
Possibly painless. Die fast. It is all over.
So I'd say in terms of outdoor maps, this map easily takes number 2 for the worst outdoor map for Singularity. This map is a gigantic pain in the ass. Now you're probably thinking like, oh, there's a lot of spots you can use for cameras and such. So while that's correct, the big factor in this are the loops. The loops are extremely hard to play. Like any decent survivor should be able to get any value out of these loops. You're really just forced to break these pallets. So the way I like to play this match is you don't want to spend a lot of time placing cameras and like looking for like the perfect camera spot, because that's kind of how you're going to lose. And especially if there's 3 people that are working separate gens, you're probably going to lose. And there's also one thing you need to factor in as well is gens on this map is sometimes going to be a gigantic pain in the ass. Like the main building gen, for example. Main building on the map is just a pain in the ass overall. It is extremely hard to defend, and it doesn't really take a whole lot for the survivors to put a bunch of pressure on that. So usually when there's a gen that's just so difficult to defend, I'm just like, fuck it, you guys can have the gen. As a Singularity player, you need to recognize which gens that you can and which gens you can't defend. Because if you're spending a bunch of your time trying to defend a generator that they're just going to be able to pop anyway, and it doesn't matter how long it takes as well, like if they're wasting so much of your time, like you're just going to lose. You can't, this is a killer where you can't just dick around and you can just win. You have to play smart, you have to play very strategical, and you have to play a little bit of territorial at times. You got to figure out, okay, which pallet is the biggest pain in my ass? And on this map, it's usually all of them. And on this map, for example, a lot of the filler pellets are extremely safe. It's hard for you to get a TP off, and Shack is extremely hard to play because they have that window. So mind gaming is extremely difficult. And right here, this ace is just absolutely fucking botting me in chase. And it's honestly like, I'm fine with it as long as I just get some of these annoying pallets out of the way. That's essentially what you have to do as a Singularity player. You can't entirely prey on survivor mistakes. If these guys play perfectly, you're just going to lose. So at times, if you can commit to that person and get them to throw a few decent pallets, and then you just leave them. Because if they're playing perfectly, it's almost like you kind of just have to drop this chase. Otherwise, you're just going to just get absolutely just railed. Especially if they're looping you at an area where you are nowhere near where all the gens are being worked on. So for this first gen pop, I got 2 downs, but I only hooked 1 of them. So it's not really the greatest start, honestly. It's not bad, but it's not great either, especially on this map. Here, you kind of want to proxy this hook, because these guys are playing a bit altruistic. Big thing, too, is, especially on this map, you want to basically cover all sides of the main building. So you want to, like, you essentially want to cover the big areas where survivors like to run. And for this map, survivors love to run to that one particular god window right there. It's a giant pain in the ass for basically all killers to deal with. It's extremely safe, and that's a pretty good one you want to cover as well, because you can either get a free you can either get a free slipstream, or you can actually get a free TP just because they vault the window. So here I kicked the Claudette off the gen, which it was nice and all, but it's not really going to do me a whole lot. I probably should have just left that gen in general. I'm also not playing for the Galactic Championships of DBD 2025, and I'm just playing for fun, honestly. Basically, little things like that can kind of set you back a little bit. The ace got unhooked, and I knew where Claudette was, so I just ended up committing there anyway. And one big thing, too, is another way you punish survivors' mistakes. If they're working gens, like right next to you, you can get a teleportation off, you want to try and get that free hit. And that's the other thing, too, is this Kate just panicked. She didn't expect me to actually like fully commit to her. She should have just ran to main building. She just ran to main building. I would have dropped her within a heartbeat. Instead, she ran into one of the worst areas you can run against a Singularity, which is the mid-map. Like, there's not really a whole lot going on in the mid-map. It's pretty easy to play around as a Singularity. So I spotted the ace right there, and I did notice the Claudette wasn't running with him, so I figured the Claudette was sticking around. And I was right, but Claudette had a 99 sprint burst, so it didn't really matter. Hook swings are really good at LT walls, but on this map the LT walls are significantly bigger, so it's kind of harder to get it. So there I'm holding the button that you use to look in your biopod, and when you hold down your button, if you guys missed my last video, if you hold down on your button looking at a biopod, it will do an auto lock. It's basically an aimbot. It's going to auto lock anyone that they can potentially get. So that combined with range, I got that insane teleport. Again, if you're trying to scan a giant body of land within a few seconds, that's when you want to hold down on your power button to look at your cameras. Because within like not even a second, I was able to figure out exactly where Kate was. So here I have 2 people injured and 1 person healthy. 1 person is on their last hook. So I could honestly just sit here and try and camp this last hook, but he's got so much time still to the point where they can still heal. So who would be the only person that would be able to get this on hook? That would be the Kate. And guess what Kate is doing right now? She's standing right in front of me. Her other 2 teammates are injured. So while the 2 are going to be healing right now, I'm just going to go for Kate. Like, she's just a free hit. So now everyone's injured. So they either have to trade or they waste more time healing. And so they decide to trade, which was a terrible idea. And then the Kate DC'd. Now, Ace has absolutely nothing. They used all the resources here. Basically, Ace is just a free 2 oh, he's running off the record. You can tell because he's not making any noise. So he definitely doesn't have Deader anymore, so I might as well just commit to him. The only thing he could have is DS. So here I kind of fucked up. I didn't really mean to TP onto her. This is like the only shack building in the entire game that is actually kind of hard to play as Singularity. Like any other map, shack is pretty easy to play. I wasn't even trying to mind game her right here. I was just going to go over by the window and then just teleport just basically directly on top of her. So she either has to throw down the pallet or she vaults the window and I down her again. Just like that, the game is basically over. They have no way of being able to bounce, especially since they have a bot at 4 gens. Even if the Kate didn't DC, this game was already over anyway. But yeah, that's basically all I got for today. I appreciate if you've been sticking around for these videos. I actually do enjoy making these videos, so if you guys want to see more in the future, I am more than happy to keep producing as much as possible. And if you want to see more content from me, I do stream sometimes on Twitch. And if you're always wondering like when I'll ever go live, you can follow me on my Twitter. I post every single time as to whenever I'm live. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys have any other questions about Singularity, I am more than happy to help. I will respond to every single comment. But yeah, take care guys.